Apologize, I didn't have mine on.
By the way, it's nice to see you in your new position.
It's good to see you too, Senator. So, um, we were asked to come forward today to really address three things. One being the capital requests that DCR has in the current proposed budget from Governor Northam. The second being how we're using our ARPA funds. And the third being just a discussion of state parks deferred maintenance costs. So I'd like to start with the I can point at things, but I can't.
I think after.
Okay. Thank you. There we go. All right. So starting with capital outlay proposals, and these were the items that were included in the budget submitted by Governor Northam. So as you probably know, DCR State Parks maintains and operates 41 state parks, and we protect and provide access to over 75,000 acres of really the best shorelines, vistas, mountain streams, lakes, and trails and outdoor experiences in the Commonwealth. But we're also responsible for maintaining 1,400 buildings, from cabins at Douthat to picnic shelters at First Landing. And many of our structures are historic in nature. Well, we have some that date to the 1700s, but many date to the 1930s, the CCC era. So despite having maintenance reserve funding of $2.7 million, that's largely inadequate to maintain our significant backlog of critical infrastructure needs. So we've developed a list of critical infrastructure needs that, from which we're identifying the most pressing projects to apply these funds towards. And examples of projects that we're including in this $5 million funded effort would include the need to replace existing fuel management infrastructure at parks. We have underground storage tanks at many of our parks. This would address Belle Isle, Chip Oaks, First Landing, and Mason Neck. We also have a need to address water and sewer infrastructure, a need to repair and improve ADA access, and the need to address electric utility systems and make repairs to roads and bridges. So that's what that first $5 million would be towards. At Machicomico State Park, which is on the banks of the York River, that's our newest state park.
Is it the one we used to call York River or York?
No, this is on the northern side of...
On the Middle Peninsula.
It was called the Timberneck property before, but we opened it last year. So this is a brand new park. We need $2.7 million to complete the improvements needed at that park. And so this $2.7 million funds the construction of a park maintenance shop, the installation of a fuel management system, repairs to a park residence. You know, many times when we build a park, we build new residences, but in this case, we inherited a home that was suitable. But it dates back to the late 70s or early 80s, we believe, and so it's time for some rehab. And also, we need to upgrade 115,000 square feet of bike path. So if you haven't been to Machicomico, it has this wonderful bike path that circuits the entire park. And so it offers an opportunity for you to experience the park from a bike, walking, if you have a mobility impairment. And so this funding allows us to ensure that that path is safe and enjoyable and well maintained.
How big is that park? How many?
How many acres? I'm going to turn to the Parks Director who's with us, Melissa Baker.
So off the top of my head, I believe it's 645.
And do you have cabins there, or?
We have 4 yurts, but no cabins.
Okay. 4 yurts.
Yes.
I love it. Senator Dees, that's the one that was funded with the Surrey Skids Creek mitigation.
Okay. How much river frontage do you have?
Oh, quite a bit.
That is one I'd have to get back to you on.
Okay, but thousands of feet.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So, and you have a public beach?
No.
Not yet?
No.
Public beach at that park. We do have water access for paddle sports primarily. We also have a marina that, depending on the size of the boat, can be really functional and a positive experience, but we don't have a swimming facility.
Okay. Okay.
The next project I'd like to address with you is the restoration of green pastures. So Green Pastures Recreation Area, this was built for use by African Americans during the segregation era. And this is a recreation area within the George Washington National Forest, and it includes a small lake. It has a sandy beach for swimming, a bathhouse, picnic shelter, restrooms, playing fields, hiking trails, walking paths, and parking areas. This is all built by the Civilian Conservation Corps during the Great Depression. And this facility is one that we have entered into an agreement with. We entered into a 30-year lease last year with the U.S. Forest Service for the area, allowing us to restore it and reopen it for public use. It's 133 acres. It's a great opportunity to preserve and maintain not only access to outdoor recreation.
It's in Allegheny. It used to be the Longdale Recreation Area on 64, between Clifton Forge and Lexington, basically, in that area. It's on North Mountain.
That forest runs pretty far up and down.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So we're going to operate this as a sub area of Douthit State Park, so that can help you understand where it is near. We requested $5 million for restoration work, and so once it's completed, we think Green Pastures can provide opportunities for visitors to not only connect with outdoor resources, but it allows us to tell this important story about how our park system has changed over time.
And frankly, it may have been the only recreation area for African Americans set up during that era. And
Correct.
When it was a period of time when we shut down our state park system rather than allow integration. This park was open for African Americans in Allegheny County, maybe the only one of its kind in the country, and it's got significant cultural importance.
There was one
What are
portion
we- now, what are we
National
doing?
Park.
We're restoring it so it can be used.
Absolutely. With this $5 million, we'll be able to do that.
It really, it's a beautiful spot, and
Right.
it's been usable, but it's not been very safe, and so it's important, the work that's going on there.
Okay.
The next project I'd like to address is a $1.9 million project at Stanton River State Park. This is we have a dam that impounds Lake Edmonds at Stanton River, and in 2018, Hurricane Michael caused some damage to that facility. This lake offers recreational opportunities, and it's a valuable fishery at Stanton River, but without $1.9 million, we will not be able to repair the dam, and there is a risk that Lake Edmonds and the dam will be lost. The next project I'd like to address with you is a project at Westmoreland State Park. This is a $6.6 million resiliency response project. So Westmoreland State Park is on the banks of the Potomac River. It's one of our original 6 state parks. We opened it in 1936, and many facilities were built adjacent to the river because that's the key natural resource that we provide access to at Westmoreland. But Westmoreland has experienced shoreline erosion greater than any other park in our system. And so we're now at a point where we've had to realign the main road, we've had to close facilities, we have some facilities that we are considering to be in jeopardy, and we're at a point now where our ability to provide swimming and support to boaters on the river is limited. So this $6.6 million that was included in the budget supports the replacement of facilities that we are losing to shoreline failure at Westmoreland, and it ensures that we can continue to provide the same level of service to our visitors at this very popular park. Funding would allow us to construct a spray ground similar to the one you see pictured there. That is actually the one at Okanichi. A new picnic area with shelters, restrooms, parking, replace wells for drinking water, and construct an accessible playground. The next project is $20 million to support revenue-generating facilities at our state parks. So as you are probably aware, Virginia state parks are funded with a mix of general fund and non-general fund dollars. Non-general fund makes up about 53% of our operating budget. And these non-general funds come from a variety of sources. This includes cabin rentals, campgrounds, retail sales, parking revenues, picnic shelters, boat ramps, and it also comes from making sure that we have the amenities in our parks that encourage people to visit them. So that's making sure we have the right hiking trails, mountain bike trails, playgrounds, and access to waterways for paddle sports. So this $20 million supports repairs and upgrades to revenue-generating facilities, and with the hope to make sure that we can maintain our market share and continue to support state park operations through non-general fund. So example projects would be upgrading campgrounds so that our electrical service, water, and sewer infrastructure meets expectations and needs, renovations to existing revenue-generating rental facilities at parks, particularly Mason Neck and Belle Isle, and replacement of visitor contact facilities at parks like Westmoreland, Holiday Lake, and First Landing.
Mr. Chairman,
Sure, Senator Hager.
that figure you quoted, 53%, that's a good number. If we go back about 20 years, we were struggling to get 30% from non-general funds.
It is. You know, what's striking, you'll see that they've got a $230 million maintenance reserve issue, and I think there was a $200 million maintenance reserve was what we identified 20 years ago. So we've barely been, we have not kept up with a little bit of money we put toward maintenance reserve every year. We've not kept up. We've lost ground.
I mentioned shoreline erosion at Westmoreland. Another park that we're having shoreline challenges at is Belle Isle. So really, it's an ongoing issue at all of our lakefront parks. And as the state's leading conservation agency, we have to balance the need to protect the investments that we've made in our parks with allowing natural processes to happen in and around them. So in addition to that project that I mentioned at Westmoreland, the governor's budget included funds to address shoreline erosion. The first project is a $2.2 million project. It's a partnership between DCR and the United States Army Corps of Engineers. It is in Lancaster County on
Lancaster
the
County,
Rappahannock
Northern
River.
Neck.
So we're going to design a living shoreline protection structure that includes an oyster shell reef there. It'll support some restoration of Atlantic ribbed mussel. We'll plant some native wetland species, and it'll create habitat and protect 1,200 feet of shoreline there on the Rappahannock. The second shoreline erosion project included in the budget is a $22.3 million project to address shoreline erosion at our lakefront parks, including Claytor Lake, Stanton River, and Occoneechee, Lake Anna, Smith Mountain Lake, and to address shoreline erosion at 3 of our riverfront parks at Front Large River. So that's York River and Leesylvania and Belle Isle. We also have a budget request to include $3 million in appropriation to support historic structure stabilization and repairs at Belle Isle. Now, this is $1.5 million from the general fund and $1.5 million from our non-general fund. Ultimately, we want to stabilize and protect the historic structures at Belle Isle so that we can make them available for public use, make them safe, and then employ them in a revenue-generating capacity to support park operations. Finally, leaving our parks and addressing a $45.5 million budget inclusion for dam rehabilitation. Oh, okay.
Senator Howe.
I think this may be more of a Jason question, but why are some of these improvements general fund and some ARPA, and why aren't more of them ARPA?
Chair, I leave that as a question for the subcommittee and the committee to decide.
Okay.
You move through the process, certainly, the investments, I believe most of them would be eligible
Okay.
based on what we've already.
For ARPA funds.
For ARPA.
Yes, but I guess as the budget was introduced, the priorities that were chosen for ARPA by the administration, those priorities, these would be just competing priorities for the same sort of one-time resource. I believe April.
Chair and Madam Chair, what I would say is, you you may recall that while that was a priority for the Senate when we did negotiations during the August budget session, that wasn't something that was agreed upon during the conference. So that is something you could continue to consider.
Okay.
Senator Hanger.
And also on that point, I guess it was in the Transportation Subcommittee the other day, I was surprised at the level of funding that's flowing through for resiliency and other things through the federal infrastructure bill. So I don't know whether any of that money would be able to be allocated for these shoreline erosion projects or not, but I guess something for us to talk about.
Madam Chair, Senator Hanger, sort of in my read of the Protect Fund, I believe the name is certainly a clever acronym come up with by congressional staffers who probably earned a bonus for it. But it largely is contained within those improvements to transportation infrastructure. So to the extent that it's a public use highway, possibly we might also ask Commissioner Bridge if we can have him come before us, or we can retain Deputy Secretary Lawson. We can ask one of them to maybe explain the nuances of that program. Sort of, DDOT has followed it more closely.
Westmoreland, I think we're having to relocate the road because
We-
it's
that-
crumbling
that-
into the water.
And their bike, their bike trail work at
Montgomery, sir.
yeah, Machicomico on the Middle Peninsula. I mean, there are transportation projects we ought to be able to grab a few bucks.
Certainly, Madam Chair, that is consistent with budget language that we have dedicated portions of access road funding to support maintenance and paving projects and parking lots at the state parks. So there is already a sort of a symbiotic relationship between those two situations.
You have a lot of numbers here. What's the total that we're looking at for everything?
It's, there's 32.2 million that addresses these park maintenance projects. It's 45.5 million to support dam safety and rehabilitation, $20 million to support revenue generating projects within the parks.
Look over on page 10, slide 10.
I did, but when I added them all up, I got to like $400 or $500 million, so.
Well, page 10 is our deferred maintenance, which I'm keeping that number
There's
kind of separate
$240
from
million
this.
worth of projects that aren't funded in this budget.
So for this next fiscal year, you're looking at about $100 million.
I can answer his question.
Okay. Tyler says he can help him.
Senator Deeds, Senator Sazalaw, in the proposed governor's budget, there's $67.1 million in total for state parks funding
Right.
related to what Frank has been describing, and then there's the $45.5 million at DCR for the soil and water district dams. That's the natural resource spending.
Would you like me to continue, Mr. Chair? Okay. So the 45.5 for the soil and water district dam rehabilitation, this addresses 9 high-hazard dams that are owned by soil and water districts. These dams are in Craig County, Henry County, Prince Edward County, Madison County, and Charlotte County.
Senator Hanger, the dams in Augusta County have already been taken care of.
Yes, I'm pleased that the dams aren't in my district this time.
Mr. Chair, I wanted to touch briefly on the allocation of ARPA funds to DCR. So DCR received $25 million in American Rescue Plan Act funds. We realize that these funds need to be spent quickly, so our approach has been to use them to support projects which we had previously had to reduce our scope due to limited resources. So, and just like many other agencies, we're seeing supply chain issues and we're seeing costs of goods increase. So ARPA funds are being used to maintain full scopes of key projects, such as the renovation of 56 cabins at Ferrystone and Douthit. We've applied $4.7 million of ARPA to that project, and that project is already underway. So cabin rentals are a key source of revenue for our state parks. They generated $7.9 million in fiscal year 21, so we believe this is a wise investment that allows our overnight accommodations to remain competitive, allows us to maintain market share, and improves the quality of the product that we provide to the citizens. We intend to expend approximately $18 million of the ARPA funds that we've been allocated in our state parks. I will say that a portion of these funds are being used to address visitor services, visitor center development, maintenance and repair, such as bridge and trestle projects at two of our extremely popular parks. We have two linear parks. These are rail trail parks. One is High Bridge Trail near Farmville. The other is the New River Trail. New River Trail saw 750,000 visitors in fiscal year 21. So these are some of our more popular parks. We also hope to invest funds in cabin renovations at Westmoreland, as well as other projects designed to enhance the visitor experience at that site. But in addition to the 41 state parks that we manage, we also manage 66 natural area preserves. And these are places where significant natural resources, endangered, threatened, and rare species are protected. And because of the sensitive nature of these areas, not all of them are open to the public. But in the 20 plus that are, we intend to expend the remaining ARPA funds to enhance public access by improving trails. One example is the popular Crow's Nest Preserve in Northern Virginia. We intend to support trail development there. We intend to remove some unsafe structures on these properties, make some public safety enhancements, improve parking, and construct wildlife viewing platforms. And over the last couple of years, we've seen significant use at these natural areas as people have looked for outdoor recreation opportunities during the pandemic. And they've found our parks to be very crowded. So they've discovered our natural areas. And one example of one that has suffered some damage due to extreme visitation is the Channels natural area. And so part of our ARPA funding will be used to reroute trails there to protect the sensitive resources at that facility. Mr. Chair, I'll stop there before I address deferred maintenance if there are any questions about our use of ARPA funds.
Are there any questions?
So, as you can imagine, I'm just a little bit partial, but I consider our state parks to be the crown jewels of the Commonwealth, and as well as our natural area preserve system. As I said earlier, we have over 75,000 acres in our state parks, over 1,400 structures, over 600 miles of trails, over 1,600 campsites. And so we are truly challenged with keeping up with the maintenance of our public park lands. So the last item I want to address with the committee today is our growing deferred maintenance at our 41 state parks. Now, every state park has some level of maintenance need, but this list addresses those larger scale items that are currently in need of funding support. Our total deferred maintenance list right now is $271,405,000. We've divided that into two categories. We have a park-specific project list that prioritizes maintenance needs at 28 state parks. These projects include repair and renovation to cabins, roof replacements, campground utility upgrades, restroom replacements, demolition of unsafe structures, repairs to culverts and bridges and marinas, office repairs and replacements, maintenance facility repairs, bathhouse renovations, and I have the whole list. It goes on. But these park-specific maintenance needs total $164 million. In addition, as I said, every state park has some level of deferred maintenance. So we've identified statewide needs to address shoreline erosion control, roof replacement, HVAC, paving and resurfacing of roadways, utility systems, trail reconstruction, replacement of playgrounds, and repairs to underground storage tanks, which you heard me mention earlier, USTs on our parks. And so that need totals $107 million. So our total deferred need is $271.4 million. The administration's budget that was presented to you addresses $32.3 million of those deferred maintenance needs. It's important to note that if DCR were to be provided with a significant amount of funds to address these projects, we would need to stand up some internal operation and add some personnel in project management. and we believe that would cost an additional $1.5 million. So if you take our deferred maintenance cost, subtract what was included, add that $1.5 million, we have a deferred maintenance financial need of $240.6 million. And so I want to thank you for the opportunity to come and speak before the committee today. And I'd also just like to briefly take a moment to recognize members of our team at DCR who are here to help me answer questions, because I'm only in my 8th week in this job. So Dr. Melissa Baker is the director of our Virginia State Park System. Kelly McClary handles PRR and design and construction for us. And Daryl Glover is our deputy director over dam safety and floodplain management.
And I'm not sure who I want to ask this, but it used to be said that Virginia spent more per person, spent less per person than any other state on state parks. Is that still the case?
I am not
Capita
sure.
spending?
I still say that, and we have rated the best state parks.
Yeah, we were, yeah, within the last 10 years, we've been rated the best state park system in the country. And I'm very proud. I mean, some of these cabins, like in Douthit, they're booked up a year in advance.
Mm-hmm.
Chairman,
Senator Anger.
I walked in a couple minutes late because I've been up, and Senator Howell, obviously, it was no surprise to her, but when I came in the room, this familiar voice was talking, and behind the mask, and I thought, well, wait a minute, that's right.
That's right. Exactly.
Obviously, with the
Exactly.
Foundation up until then, it's a real quick study, and so we're lucky to have it here.
Well,
And certainly the amount of acreage has grown exponentially for you.
Yes, Senator. Yes. Thank you.
Senator Hanger, the word I got was you wouldn't be here. I would have waited for you. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine, I'll have that conflict every Friday morning.
So we don't know if we're still dead last among the 50 states.
I don't know our ranking. I can tell you we spend about $2.60 per capita of general fund dollars to support our parks, but I don't know our ranking.
Are there any other questions? Well, This is,
Well, just one general question.
Senator
I
Hank.
think it's being addressed somewhere in the budget, but there's a hotel to be opened on New Rivers. When is that going to open?
That's the inn at Foster Falls. It's included in the operating budget at New River Trail, and it would depend on that allocation as to when we could open it.
okay, well, if there are no more questions, all we had to do today was to receive this report, and I don't guess, we'll rise. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you so much.